Very good morning, everyone. I hope you're all safe and healthy wherever you are. And today I'm honored to moderate this session by Dr. Denni Puspa Purbasari. Denni Puspa Purbasari is the Executive Director of the Project Management Office, or PMO, of Kartu Prakerja program at the Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs since March 2020. She is also a lecturer at the Department of Economics, Universitas Gadjah Mada. She earned her Ph.D. in economics at the University of Colorado at Boulder in 2006. And before serving at PMO Kartu Prakerja program, she was the Economic Deputy Chief of Staff of the President of the Republic of Indonesia in 2015 to 2020, and the Assistant to the Economic Advisor for the Vice President of the Republic of Indonesia from 2009 to 2014. She is the recipient of Satya Lencana Karya Satya the 10th Fulbright Scholarship, Stanford Calderwood Student Teaching Award, James C. Campbell Thesis Research Award, Beverly Sears Student Research Award, and the University of Colorado Fellowship. So as you can see that she has great achievements. And I remember taking her class back in 2008, Bu Denni, for Pengantar Ekonomi. And yeah, I was inspired by Dr. Denni Puspa Sari, and she was one of my favorite lectures back then. Thank you so much once again, Bu Denni, for your time. And today, Bu Denni will deliver a lecture about well-being economics and post-COVID welfare policy. So, Bu Denni, you have 90 minutes, including questions and answers, and the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the nice introduction, Pak Luluk, Lusiantoro. Very good morning for everyone. So I would like to invite you to be active during the lecture, and then make sure that you can basically give all your opinions, answers on the chat box, so I can basically interact with you and understand your opinions. So this is based on the experience of running Prakerja program in the last 2 years. And I would like to share to you my thoughts. And this is actually my first lecture after, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years. And again, I'm not the master of public policy, but actually I am involved in the process of policy making, and right now on the implementation side of economic policy, which I consider it is very valuable for you to understand, to learn, and hopefully in the future some of you will follow my path to be policy advisor and also to be the implementer of economic policy. So I will start by sharing. Okay. So the goals of this lecture basically very simple. There are 2 goals. The first one, I would like you to understand the problem solution fit. This problem solution fit is actually quite common in a public policy, but it is becoming more prevalent. The terminology of problem solution fit in the world of startups. And the second thing is I would like you to understand the public policy 101, which is a mixture between economics, politics, communication, statistics, mathematics, and also, of course, in a way, you have to be a public speaker. Next slide. Okay, so lesson number 1. I would like you to understand the problem of unemployment. So, okay, please answer in the chat box. I want to know about the audience. So, in what year are you in the economics department? First year, second year, third year? yeah, you can type in the chat box so I can understand, like, okay, second year, second year, second year. Next, second year, first year, okay, second year, okay. So I think again, okay. So if the majority of you is in the second year, I believe that you already know the basic principles of economics, and you know about the supply and demand of labor. So again, if you're talking about supply and demand side of labor market, so you know that on the supply side there are workers, on the demand side there are firms who basically recruit the labor, right? And then we also understand about the structural and frictional unemployment. This is in the class of microeconomics. So for structural unemployment, basically are those who already in the labor force, but there are some structural problems such as education or lack of infrastructure because they are living in remote areas, such that they cannot participate in the labor market. And then for frictional unemployment, the nature is more short run in the sense that in order to find a job, some people usually will spend some time to find the right job for them. So those are the difference between, structural versus frictional unemployment. So it's more like a long-term and more difficult to solve versus short-term, something that is easier to solve. But again, structural and frictional unemployment is always there. So as an economist, you know that you should not expect unemployment is zero, right? So you know from the macroeconomics, unemployment will be always positive. And you know that there are some dynamics in the labor market in which in certain periods, the number of people who are entering the labor force increase significantly. But then and there is some period of time where actually there are people who are leaving the labor force. For example, they stop applying for job, they give up finding a job, or they choose to stay at home for whatever reason. So we know that there is in and out of in the labor market. So, but again, expect that there is no zero unemployment. There is always positive unemployment, whether that's 4% of the labor force, 5% of the labor force, etc., etc. So, and then there is the issue of youth versus adult unemployment. So I want to know your guess for Indonesia. Again, for Indonesia, how much do you think youth unemployment higher compared to the adult unemployment? Twice? Thrice? 4 times? Yes, youth is higher, right? But how many times? How many times higher? Twice? Thrice? 4 times? Okay, Bramantio, try to answer 4 times. Okay, 2 times? 5 times? One. Okay, so who answered 5 times? Because 5 times, I think that there is a one answer 5 times. Bima, you are the closest. So the answer is 6 times. So if you see unemployment, there are adult unemployment and youth unemployment. Youth unemployment 6 times higher than adult unemployment. So the question is why? Okay, some answers, please. Why youth unemployment is actually higher than adult unemployment? So, let me give some a bit of statistic of what so-called as youth unemployment. So those who are in the range of 15 years old up to 25 years old or 22 years old, something like that. Skills experience, John, correct. Skills experience. So again, why youth unemployment is high? Because you have no experience. While many employers seeking workers who have at least, statistics show, at least 1 year experience. So how can the youth actually entering and participating in the labor force and work while the firms looking for somebody who already experienced? Of course, after you graduate, maybe you have 0 year of experience. That's why a lot of youth, becoming unemployed. So who knows about the abbreviation of NEET? Yes, NEET. Not in the first E, education. The second thing, employment. The third one, training. Yes. So NEET in Indonesia is very high. According to World Economic Forum report, the percentage of NEET in Indonesia ranging around 22% to 25%. So we are talking about huge demographic bonus that the benefits actually unrealized because, again, lack of participation in the job market. Okay, so again, there is a structural and frictional problems in there, but the majority is actually, you can see that there is a mismatch of the demand between the demand and the supply side. And the issue here is also on the education and reservation wage. So for the youth, in general, you are more educated because, again, economic growth, income is higher. So parents can basically send their kids to schools. Now the education attainment in Indonesia, I think is closing to, I think it is very close to the first year of senior high school. I don't know how many years is that. So 6, 9, okay, so it's about 10 years, 10 years, 10 years of schooling. So what happened here, guys, with higher education, people have more expectations on the wage because, again, they try to calculate the return of investment in the education. So what happened here is that the young Indonesians, they have quite high education, at least high school and above. They have no experience, but they are expecting higher wage, while the firms on the opposite. The firms wants, again, somebody who already experienced with high education and maybe accepting minimum wage. In Indonesia, sorry, the average minimum wage is about 3.5 million rupiah per month or even lower, because in Jakarta the minimum wage is about 4.5 million rupiah per month. So again, nobody or a very small number of educated people wants to accept the minimum wage salary, while there is a abundant labor supply in the market. The other problem of in the labor market is there is belief, and it is already being tested, that training is considered as a luxurious good. Luxurious good. Luxurious good, you can see from the elasticity of income, that not many people actually wants or able to buy trainings with their current income. So in general, statistics show that about 89% of Indonesian adults never attended any trainings. So they only have certificates of graduation, whether that's a high school certificate or undergraduate certificate, without any trainings, like practical trainings, job trainings, and any kind of vocational trainings, because it is quite expensive. Not only it is expensive, next, there is also the problem of asymmetric information. People wants to buy training, people wants to participate in trainings, willing to pay, but it is very difficult to find the right trainings for them. They are worried that they select the trainings that is not really giving the right return on investment. So what happened here is that it is very difficult to compare one training to the other. For example, okay, I would like to find an English training. I would like to find a Python trainings. I would like to find, I don't know, SQL trainings, and which institutions that I should, select, whether that's online, offline, or should I basically move to big cities in order to join to some kind of a boot camp, etc., etc. So it is very difficult to find the right information about the characteristic of the trainings that is easily to be compared to each other. And it is very important, guys, to understand the magnitude of the problem. So the number of Indonesian labor force is about 145 million people. Again, 145 million. We are not talking about, 10 million, 5 million, 145 million people. That's the labor force. And like I said before, 89% of them never attended trainings. So we are talking about more than 120 million people never attended training, while the job or the work actually keep changing, because industry will always adapt to the new environment and challenges in order to be survive. And they need the right workers with the right skills, while workers actually willing to participate in trainings, but they do not have money. The second thing is that if they even want to find a training, they don't know which one that I should choose. On the opposite, study by the World Bank show that firms invest too little in research and development, including trainings for their workers. So we face market failure here, in which both the supply and demand side of the trainings actually, very bad, and people end up with people end up with very little skills, and then what happened is that the gap between what firms need and what the workers can do is actually became wider. And you have to understand the source of the statistics. So in Indonesia, it is very important, guys, to check frequently, periodically, on the website of BPS, www.bps.go.id. And then you choose the Berita Resmi Statistics, so the official statistic report. And then for labor force, the statistics or the report is actually launched twice annually, in February and in August. So again, you can basically look at the statistics and then see about the problems and the magnitude in more details, and also the dynamics from time to time. So it is very important to be, really sensitive and understand about the statistics. Otherwise, you're not economists, because economists must talk based on data. And it is very important to be, economics as social science, guys. Even though we have a lot of numbers, maths, and all the formulas over there, but still what we face is actually human and human problems. So if you're talking about, problem of unemployment, it is the most serious social problem. Why? Because labor is the only, innate factor of production for human. And for the poor, it's even, severe, because the poor does not have land, does not have capital. They only have their labor. So you can imagine if the poor cannot find job, any job, I'm not thinking about decent job, guys. Decent job is like, upper here. Of course, it is the mandate of the constitutions for the state to provide jobs. But jobs is not coming from the state. The state can only provide good incentives and creating good business climates for business to invest and opening for jobs in Indonesia. So you can see that, okay, if the poor only have labor as a factor of production, so first order concern is make sure that they can tap any job opportunities that is available in the market, regardless about the wage, regardless about the location, regardless about whether it is decent or not. I'm very strong here because, again, you have to understand the magnitude. Not eating versus eating something. I will choose eating something. Work or not work, I will choose work. But of course, we are talking about long span of time, so we can improve and make sure that, their skills is actually upgraded such that they can find better job. So again, you have to think what is like ideal, what can be done in the short run, not trying to do everything in one time. So it is impossible to do that. And understand about the pyramid of, pyramid of our society. This is the societal pyramid of society. Again, the bottom 40%, some of them actually trapped into very difficult structural conditions. Like, for example, living in remote islands, lack of infrastructures, and then they don't have good educations. So it is, of course, the necessity of economics to think about them and to help them. But there is a limit for policies to basically outreach everybody in the bottom, like for example, the bottom 5%, because it requires huge investment to be able to, lift it up. The second thing is that you have to understand, like, okay, which policies appropriate for which group. Prakerja, I have to admit, it is not intended for the very bottom of the bottom 40%. It is more suitable for the middle 40% and slightly the upper of the bottom 40%. So again, understand which target groups that you are trying to basically serve. You cannot serve everybody in the pyramid. Next slide. Before that, any question? So I should not keep talking. Yeah, but any questions about the first slide? Or are you sleepy? Any questions? No question? Okay. Now let's continue with the problem solution fit, guys. So like I said before, if you're talking about training, the problem of in the training market is lack of purchasing power. That's why Kartu Prakerja trying to solve the problem by, okay, yeah, you can basically shut down the camera, but I wish that you are not going somewhere and do something else. Yeah, because again, guys, learning is very important. Learning is like, I don't know, becoming lifestyle to be relevant in the job market that is very competitive. And I think that you guys have a strong commitment to improve yourself in order to be, relevant in the future. And I have the experience of involving in the public policy and also designing a program. So I hope that you can keep following my explanation and then participating in the chat box with any questions if, you think that, oh, I need to have some clarification on this and that. So feel free to ask questions. So again, guys, on the issue of lack of purchasing power, Prakerja give a training credit or training voucher. The amount at this moment is 1 million rupiah per person. So everybody has allowance of 1 million rupiah that can be used to buy any trainings, based on their preference. The second thing is to solve the problem of asymmetric information. That's why we adopt the e-marketplace for training, and we have strong FAQ on the website. So for e-marketplace for trainings, you can imagine that there is a GoFood, right? Where you can select any food that you have, and there is no identical food vendors in there. And then the second thing is that after you enjoy the food, then you can give ratings on the quality of the food and also the drivers, right? So it's the same thing in Prakerja. We adopt that kind of a scheme for Prakerja. So there are tons of trainings with different training providers that you can basically buy, select and buy. And then after you follow the trainings, and then you give ratings and also reviews, which basically can give the information for the next buyers about the trainings. So ratings, low ratings means that, okay, the quality is bad, and therefore the buyers will basically avoid from buying. Okay, so that's basically the idea or the design of Prakerja. And then for the weak demand for training, so what we do here is, okay, how to ignite demand for training, because some people actually do not want to train themselves. So give incentives at the end of the trainings. That's why we adopt conditional cash transfer upon training completion, because it's like you are doing a marathon. At the end of the finish line, there are some, food, free food in there. There are some, I don't know, nice, I don't know, ice syrup, for example. That, okay, I need to run because there is a reward at the end of the finish line. This is the same thing, because what people respond to incentive, and the most obvious incentive for human is money. The second thing is that you have to create consumer-centric product, because again, if you already design the program in a such way such that people will complete the training and they have strong interest in participating in the program, but if the program is very difficult to be participated in, then low take-ups will not deliver anything. So you have to make sure that the product or the program is interesting enough, easy enough to be assessed anytime for even the low educated persons, to basically read the instructions and then, register themselves and then following all the procedures that is required. So that's the idea of consumer-centric product, the importance of consumer-centric product. The last one, of course, the problem of skill gap. We have to make sure that the trainings that we provide for the public already being assessed and monitored closely during the implementation. So we also provide the complete training menu, and we give power for the public to choose whatever training that they want. Because again, in Jakarta, I don't know what kind of skills for people, for example, in Aceh or people in Papua. I don't know what trainings that they need. That's why it is important to provide, big menu, long list menu, such that they can basically select. It is like, I have a party inviting millions of, guests, but those guests have different dietary, preference or dietary restrictions. So what happened here is that as a host, I would like to provide different kind of foods such that people can select regarding and that's that fit to their preference. So that's the importance of choice. Next slide. And then, guys, next slide. Yes. Lesson number 2. So lesson number 1, problem solution. What problems you want to answer and what solutions for each problem. And then lesson number 2, understand the policy choice. So guys, for policy choice, it is very important. After you want to serve the public, you want to solve the problem of unemployment, you have to understand that, okay, what I can do is providing trainings, but what I cannot do is giving everybody jobs that is suitable for them, right? Because jobs is actually not in your control. Jobs is in the firm's control or employer's control. And it is impossible that the government basically will create jobs for, I don't know, 5 million people per year. That's actually the amount of people that we serve every year. So you have to be realistic in setting the goals. The second thing is that you have to understand the policy context. The policy context when Prakerja was born is actually we faced double disruptions. The first disruptions coming from COVID. What is the earlier disruption, guys? Coming from the first disruption before COVID-19. Yes? Any answer?
Would it be the 2008 global financial crisis? Or
No. Any answer? Financial crisis, that's back in 2008, right? But this is actually more prevalent in the last 6 years. What is that? COVID was born in 2020, right? So, of course, in China is in 2019. So, what other kind of disruption in the job market that is so serious, challenging our workers and also firms? What are those? What kind of disruption?
Sorry, ma'am.
Yes.
Maybe in terms
Yes,
of
Jovan.
maybe I have to answer because I don't really know the context, but I think the first context is it can be in terms of digitalization, ma'am. I think.
Exactly. Very good.
Okay.
Digital technology disruption. Very good. So that's the first disruption that occurred before COVID. And we are still struggling and learning how to basically adjust, the industry, all the employers, our manufacturers, very busy how to move to industry 4.0. Well, we are still busy thinking about that. And also, of course, the industry also struggling how to transform the skill or upgrade the skills of the workers, reskilling, upskilling the workers. But oh my God, COVID is coming. And COVID give another type of disruption that basically restrict mobility and social interaction. This is very challenging for everyone. And when you understand this context, you have to think about 5W plus 1H. What 5W plus 1H refers to? Any answer? Yes?
I think maybe in the context, maybe it is the same as what, who, when, how, man. I think.
Yes.
Maybe
And the last one is how. Correct, Jovan. So again, when you think about these double disruptions, what is the source of disruption? What kind of disruption? Who get hit with that disruption? How they get hit? And then where it is more, prevalent than the other? You raise all the questions there in order to identify the problems correctly and give the solution more precisely. Because again, when you talk about COVID, cities or villages, that is more prevalent. Cities or villages? Answer? There are only two options, guys. Cities or villages? Cities, exactly. Why cities? Why COVID is more prevalent in cities? Because more human interactions, yes. Urban housing, yeah. High population density, correct. Mobility, yes. 24 hours, right? There are people who keep working because we know that, okay, in big cities, in the morning, okay, during the day, some people go to the work, but at night there are some securities, logistics, and then cleaning service, etc., etc. So people keep moving, interacting, working 24/7. So in cities, the density also high. So you can imagine when there is a lockdown in Jakarta, so everybody is basically, wow, this is a serious shock for the economy. So guys, who got hit more severely? Male or female workers? Female. Why, Songyan? Why? Did I mention your name correctly? I'm sorry, Songyan, right? Irene, you can also answer why female actually hit by COVID worse than male workers. Why? What happened in the labor market in developing countries typically regarding female labor? Yes? Any answer? Female is biased in labor market. In what sense, Miss Tang? You can basically turn on your mic. It's fine. Unpaid care work. That's true. So guys, again, if you look at the statistic in PPS, female labor participation is actually much lower than male, while actually the education attainment is almost par. It means that, parents send their kids, female children to schools, but then after that, hey, baby, stay at home. I don't know, or maybe get married. So what happened is that, female labor participation is like this. And then when female participating in the labor market, what happened is that they get paid the lowest compared to the male workers. And also, of course, female have certain, natural, natural situations that make them, sometimes have to take some days off per month. Or maybe after they get married, they have to, take some days off to basically raise the babies or deliver the babies. And then, for the firms, it is considered that, so it is not, efficient to hire female workers because I have to pay them even though they take this off during, certain period that I mentioned. So again, female participation is low and also low wage. So whenever there is shock, which group of workers that need to be fired first, the logic of the firms is female. So when females stay at home, in general, female also do the household work. When there is no income or in a poor conditions, usually female take care of the children and also, cooking, even finding for water, clean water. They have to walk maybe some miles to find a water. And, now they have to attend the children because children also cannot go to school. They will study at home. So again, there are more burdens for women. So guys, you understand about the problems and how actually the general problems can be, disaggregated into more detailed problems and which group that is actually severely hit compared to the other. And then the next one is that, okay, Indonesia consisting of millions of workers, you cannot make everybody happy. So you have to choose. During, Prakerja is intended to improve skills, whether that's skilling, reskilling, or upskilling for the workers. And when we are talking about workers here, it means not only workers, labor force. So labor force here consisting of fresh graduates, unemployed, the laid-offs, and also people who are running for small businesses, and also freelancers, and regular or blue collars, white collars. So we have, different kinds of, labor force. Female, male, cities, high educated, low educated, those who live in villages or cities, old, young, etc., etc. Now, let's talk about the program first. The intention of Prakerja is giving competency, but understand the context, the social context. It is COVID, and there are so many people who are working in the cities, and the majority of them also actually migrant workers coming from the regions of the, suburbs that depend on daily income in Jakarta. And those people are not considered poor. But they are not even in the middle class. Some of them is really in the middle class, but really lower middle class. And they have some credits, like for example, for motorcycles, air conditioner, televisions, and they also send their kids to schools. So what happened here is that all of a sudden they lost their job. At the beginning, firms basically send their workers at home. They are waiting and seeing, right? Okay, what happened? What happened to COVID, and what the government policy in the near future? They don't know. Everybody don't know what happened with COVID at that time. But what is real is people no longer can work. Some people still get paid, but later, some people get laid off. Some people still work, but the number of hours much lower. So their income much lower, while they have to eat every day. They have to feed their children. They have to pay their bills. They have to pay for their debt, etc., etc. So it's very, uncertain at that time. So this is the context, the social context that happened in early 2020. So what happened here is that, do you want to still set the goal of the program as a competence development program only? Or do you want to mix the program in some way that also give cash benefit for the people? And you know, many of them are working in informal sector. They are not covered with regular social assistance, not covered or do not have any social assistance or social insurance. So what happened here is that we have to choose. So in the graph, left graph, you know, in the microeconomics, right? Indifference curve, social welfare function, etc. So there are two goals here, competence, and the other one is cash transfer. So here, because of the context of the society at that time, we adjust, we try to compromise. Okay, we should not choose competency only. Because if you are in the competency only, then you are at the corner solution of number 3 over there, the dot number 3, the blue dot. So dot number 3, as you see, is actually giving the lowest social indifference curve, U3. If you choose cash only without any, trainings, you end up with dot number 2 that basically give a slightly higher indifference, higher satisfaction of the society, because, well, people are short-sighted anyway. They will say that, I need money now because I need to support my family, pay my bills, stay afloat, whatever. Very short-sighted. Many people very short-sighted. They just try to save, their life and their family. While competency, well, it is important, but job openings is slow anyway. Why do you give trainings? Well, actually, many people need food, for example. So that's why in my thought, this is like the debates in my mind, in my brain, okay, maybe the society indifference curve that gives, dot number 2 is higher compared to dot number 3. So what we choose here, dot number 1, in which, okay, we choose a combination between a competency and cash transfer. So people will have a bundle of, product, trainings, and money. So that's how we choose. And my hypothesis is that it will give basically, higher, the highest satisfaction. But because people tend to be biased on the short term or short run, that's why we give more weights on the cash transfer compared to the competency goal. So that's basically how we design the policy. Of course, our choice to choose number 1, which is the combination of cash transfer and competency, is not, the best choice for every individual in the country. Because, for example, look at UA, UB, UC over there. That's the choice. That's actually the preference or indifference curve of individual. For example, Miss Tang preference. Miss Tang, she loves education. She loves trainings. So she believes that, hey, Prakerja is a skill development program. So Prakerja must equip people with strong competence. And therefore, there should be no room for cash transfer. Why? Because if there is cash transfer, people will have some internal motivation that is moved toward cash transfer, not toward the good training. That's why for her, UC is the worst. UB, meh, but UA is the best. That's for Miss Tang preference. But maybe there is a Jovan preference. Jovan is, for example, informal worker in Jakarta. Jovan ran on, for example, as a motorcycle driver, on-demand motorcycle driver. While actually COVID hit the country, Jovan needs to stay afloat. Jovan needs to feed the children. So what happened is that for Jovan, 0.3 is bad. 0.1, I don't like it. 0.2, yes, I love it. So your indifference curve is actually, the highest is at point number 2. So again, guys, Indonesia consists of millions of people. You cannot make everybody happy. You have to choose what is like good and the best for society. Do I know about society and every individual's preference? No, I don't. So how do I know about the society indifference curve? Deduction logic. So you have to think, okay, what is the most important in delivering the program? Which weights that I should put more in what circumstances? So you have to build your own wisdom, look at the data, and again, remember economics and social science. You serve people. You don't serve numbers, and those numbers is just numbers or called numbers. No. Behind every numbers in economics, there are people, guys. So be sensitive and have empathy on with them, okay? So again, I already explained about corner versus optimal solution, society versus individual preference. Any questions? I stop here first. Any question? You can turn on your mic. Again, guys, I'm sorry, I do not write the lecture well because it has been a while. I do not teach. Okay, let me move on. I already mentioned to you about short run versus long run in a very short, right? When I give the example of Jovan, for example, moped driver versus, for example, Tang, who loves basically competence. So for competence to basically give society benefit, it takes some time. Because again, if you invest in education, if you invest in trainings, then the benefits of those investment will coming in the long run. And people say that, well, in the long run, we will die anyway. We need to stay alive now. So what happened here is that, okay, please give us a cash transfer. Okay, so there is a debate of short run versus long run goals. And you have to understand the difference between economic versus social benefit. Economic benefit, okay, maybe you only consider about, okay, how much welfare that I can create for this group versus other groups, and then how about the net benefit for everyone. But social benefit, guys, it is not only about material being. It is also about the, what is that? A mental being. Because there is a study by LPM University of Indonesia that show that Prakerja actually give a solution for mental illness, such that reducing angers and then depressions, etc. So you can Googling for the research if you are coming from the psychology department, for example. So again, social benefit here is not only and greater than economic benefit. It is also the well-being of the people, the mental well-being. The second thing also, social benefit here is the social stability. Because you can imagine at that time, some people even disbelieve on COVID. They do not know like what is the impact of COVID. What is real for them is that I lost my job, I cannot feed my family. So here, it is quite dangerous in big city like Jakarta, the central of political, power, maybe in Indonesia. If there are so many youth, so many people and lost their job, and they are, in depression, they are in anger, and they, for example, create some social unrest. So this is no good for Indonesia. So there should be quick solutions for the problem. And it is very important to create on-demand system such that we can respect individuals' preference, because choices, again, remember in Pak Rimawan's class maybe, weekly axiom of revealed preference. Choice reflect preference. If there is no choice, then preference might not be, well tapped. Because if there's no choice, everyone is just one. So what kind of choice? I don't know. But if you give choices, then choice will reflect preference. And then you will understand better the audience that you serve. Last, we need digital solutions. Why? Remember the magnitude of the problem. 120 million people never attended trainings. Millions of people cannot basically participate in job anymore because of COVID. So you have to make sure that how actually we have a problem that can be accessed by many, and can be delivered quickly? The answer is digital solution. Next slide. So guys, remember public policy 101. This is like the wrap up. You can make everybody happy. So you have to manage your expectation. Whose expectation to be managed first? Guys, whose expectations to be managed first? Any answer, any guess? You cannot make everybody happy. Manage your expectation. Whose expectation? Ourselves, correct, Maya. The policy on the program owner. You cannot make everybody happy. So manage your expectation. Don't overpromise to the public, because public, will basically ask your responsibility on what you are saying or what you promise to them. The second thing is that, okay, because you cannot make everybody happy, it means that some people, maybe some other people unhappy. Those unhappy people can create something crazy. So what happened here is that do stakeholders mapping and do strong communication. So what kind of stakeholders mapping here? Understand their interests, understand their power. Who's have the strongest power, the strongest interest, you serve them. Okay? But for the rest, you have your own strategy. So stakeholders mapping is very important. Okay, we have a lot of stakeholders there. Do the mapping based on their interest and their power, and then serve those with the highest interest and the highest power. Okay? Even though you cannot make everybody happy, but you have to make the most people happy. It is crazy if you just serve, small number of people. So you have to make sure that your program can serve the majority and make them happy. But again, you have to identify minorities and the underserved. Because guys, this is a large country. If you do not pay attention to the minorities and underserved, Indonesia, 13,000 islands, different religions, different race, different, suku. Indonesia is very diverse country. Archipelago. So you have to understand the minorities and underserved. If not, those people are left behind, and that's not development. Remember the agenda of Sustainable Development Goal. You have to leaving no one behind, right? So again, identify them, but what do you do with them? Engage with NGO, engage with other ministries that have specific programs or more suitable programs for those groups, and make them able to participate in the mainstream. Okay? Again, policy program should hit the majority, but you must understand that not everybody can join into the mainstream. What do? Invite other players that have specific programs targeted for those who are, underserved, to be able to participate to the mainstream. So it means that maybe some preconditions are necessary for people to be able to participate in Prakerja. Engage with them. Okay, so that's why in Prakerja we engage with 5 NGOs, 5 largest NGOs in Indonesia, to help us with minorities. And then context makes priority. You know about this. So what if scenario? What if COVID gets worse? What if COVID becomes endemic, for example, when the program should end this mode and then change or transition into another mode? So context makes priority. In the short run, again, the priority is on the stomach, but then in the long run, on the brain. Okay, but again, I'm saying about priority. Priority need not be, mutually exclusive. We chose, not in a corner solution, but interior solution. And remember, guys, one goal, one policy, that's the best. But sometimes one policy can have 2 goals or can serve 2 goals. But please be realistic. You cannot have one policy with, 10 goals. And some goals are, contradictory to one to another. So be realistic and then manage your expectation and try to, again, engage with other agents in order to make sure that, okay, everybody understand about this. This is what we serve. This is what the program can do, what this program cannot do. And then what happened here is that, okay, for those goals that we cannot do, some other programs might be able to serve better. You have to be realistic and be humble. Okay. And remember, when you say one policy, one goal, define your metric of success. Even though on the regulation, the metric saying that, okay, Prakerja is actually intended to improve productivity, competitiveness, and then boosting entrepreneurship. How to measure those, words, productivity, competitiveness. That's why you have to have or define your metric of success. And the second thing, define or identify the unintended consequences or spillovers. Spillovers here can be positive, can be negative. For example, Prakerja is not intended for financial inclusion, but oops, we learn from the data that, actually 44% of our participants are coming from the bottom 40%. We never know. The second thing is that, oops, I don't believe it, that 28% to 30% of our participants never have bank accounts or e-money accounts before. So, unintended consequence of Prakerja is boosting or accelerating financial inclusion. This is something, again, guys, you have to identify that such that you have a better measure of the impact of your program. Next slide. So lesson number 3, set institutions right. This is something beyond economics, guys. It is a luxury. And I think for a program that is so big like Prakerja, it is necessary to have a strong political mandate. In Prakerja, the mandate actually comes from Mr. President himself. The second thing is that it is very important to have strong legal basis. The mandate coming from President Prakerja, the presidential regulation is actually the base or the legal basis of Prakerja, because it is sometimes, the mandate coming from Mr. President, but the legal basis at the ministerial level, that's not strong enough. So if it is a luxury, and of course we try to advocate, everybody that, okay, for this goal this big, and this is the mandate of Mr. President, how big is the reforms that you convey, etc., then okay, we need strong legal basis. And that's the numero uno of political power, Mr. President. Okay. And then, of course, after the strong legal base, then you have to have the implementing regulations that set the rule of the game of, the program. It is very important, guys. So to be good economist in the public sector, you have to understand law 101. So I strongly suggest you, after economics degree, then you take law degree for your master's. I'm serious. This is no BS. Take law degree, guys, because then you understand, like, okay, why it is important to understand law for economists in public sector. Okay, because this and that, and then there is a political law. What is it? Politik hukum, law politics, something like that. Because well, law is not just the rule, but behind that there is a politics that is going on. And I understand this when actually I'm in the government. Before that, I don't understand. So there is a battle of interest, battle of power, and then whatever stated in the regulation, that's basically the rule of the game. Who owns what? Whose authority this power actually given, for example. So that's very important to understand. And then the third one, understand lex specialis derogate lex generalis. Why it is important to have strong legal basis, not only on the president's level, but also on the implementing regulations, because that's regulation becoming the specialist regulation or specific regulation, because specific regulations win over general regulation. So guys, with in Prakerja, because we have implementing regulation, we don't have to submit to other regulations that basically for the general programs. Prakerja has their own regulations, and we have to submit to those regulations, those specific regulations, not the general regulations. So that becomes like, the shield of your program, such that the program can convey their own mission, their own innovation without being disturbed by the past regulation that is released like 10 years ago, or, in, I don't know, circa 1980s or 2000, something like that, while internet revolution is not there yet. So that's very important, because again, guys, I learned about this while actually I'm in the government. So it is very important to understand about law. Fourth, you have to set the institutions right here regarding the policy agency versus the implementing agency. You cannot do everything. Government consists of bureaucrats. Bureaucrats, basically have their own routine, like for example, meetings, and then paperwork, procedures, and then, meetings, different kind of meetings, coordination. Well, if the program is actually delivered to the people on the ground, you have to have special agency for delivery to ensure operational excellence. Having good policy is not enough. You have to have operational excellence in order to make sure that your product is delivered well on the door of the people. Okay, this is what many government institutions fail to understand. They do everything within, the bureaucratic arms, while actually bureaucracy does not have experience in delivering products. But if you think about firms, private firms, for example, you are a car manufacturer, you have research and development, you make a prototype, you test your product before releasing to the market. And when you release to the market, before that, you do, I don't know, long research about the chair, the machine, the speed, the design, everything, meticulous work, you do it. And then after that, you release the product to the market using marketing communication approach, the most sophisticated one, economics, which is economical, and then after that you give certain bonus, and then after sales management, you provide the credits, you provide the, I don't know, anything. And then of course, you always have, voice of customers, something like that, call a toll-free number that customers actually can call whenever they have any complaints, any opinions, etc., etc. So private sector is really crazy about the product and the delivery of the product. Operational excellence is a must, because that determines their survival in the market, because there is always competition in the market. There is no what's so-called as security in the market. What about government? Is there any competition? No. There is no competition in the government. There is no pressure to challenge internally. So that's why, guys, reforms, innovation in the public sector is very slow, because there is no challenge. So that's why, guys, it is very important. I don't know what is the recipe. I'm not the expert in this. To create some environment, internal incentives for the government to keep pushing themselves without any, pressure from wherever, to basically deliver the best and keep innovating the policies, even though, again, guys, there is no competition. So I don't know the recipe for this, guys, because Indonesia is a large country. Sometimes some of the pressure is coming from the comparison of statistics with other countries, but that's not enough. And, people sometimes don't realize what happened. A lot of statistics, a lot of groups. Sometimes we, anecdote, people basically sustain bad policies based on anecdotal evidence rather than, general or sophisticated or scientific evidence. So it is difficult. So Prakerja is different. Prakerja has policy agency and implementing agency. Implementing agency run by PMO that I led. Next is about the control of the budget. Who's actually have the control of the budget? PMO. So this is very interesting that, the budget on the hand of implementing agency. Usually the budget controlled by the, government, meaning that the policy side, actually also the implementing side, and they also own the budget. So again, guys, that's why I think we can improve the efficiency of the programs that, have been run in Indonesia in the last 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, if we actually trying to set the institutions right and adopt the latest technology. And it is very important also to basically think about the scheme, whether you are in partnership with private sector or you do some procurement with the private sector. In Prakerja, we do partnership with private sector. What does it mean? It means that Prakerja is an ecosystem for everyone to participate, but you have to meet certain, terms and conditions. And there is competition in there, fair competition. Whoever can serve better to the public, whether that's price, quality, services, etc., you win the market. But if you do not innovate, your price is too high, your product is crappy, then okay, you will get kicked out from the market. So that's basically in the scheme of Prakerja. We don't use government procurement. Government procurement means that the governments assume that they know everything, what is suitable for the people, and then they buy certain training with certain price, and then basically provide that training for free for the public. The problem is, I don't know the preference of the public. I don't know how much is the true price of each training. Because what? Because back in 2020, market for skill development is not there. Prakerja ignite market for skill development such that we understand the price, the fair price. Whether are we going to go to the procurement direction? Not yet, because we have to make sure that, this market is tested, large enough, consistent, and then we know the fair price. Market will reveal the price, the fair price of the product. That's basically the Adam Smith lesson, right? Okay, next slide. I think we are on time. So lesson number 4, innovation needs space. So guys, innovation is risky business even for the private sector. Like I mentioned before, firms' incentive is basically to be sustainable, to be relevant in the market, but state incentive, not that strong. The second thing is that you have to do constant iterations, meaning that you have to keep improving the product. You should not stop. You have to always check in every aspect of your product how to improve it, right? And then the third one, don't waste your time to make the whole product complete and then deliver to the market. Adopt a startup approach where you have the MVP, like prototype, most viable product, and then you give to the public and then improve gradually until it becoming full product. So again, this is like step by step instead of like, having the full product and then release to the market. Time to market is very important. During COVID, time to market is very narrow. You have to deliver the product as soon as possible because people need your program. And then do A/B testing. And then you have to do business process review in order to, again, do some checking and then improve. And you do some monitoring and evaluation, and you do program impact evaluation. Program impact evaluation must be done by the external researchers or external institutions such that it will have some credibility. Next. Okay. On Prakerja, I already mentioned some of them. It is President's mandate. And then the legal base is Presidential Regulation and Constitution. And then the implementing regulation is the CMA and also MOF implementing regulation. And then there are policy committee consisting 14 ministers. and PMO with 150 specialists. And then PMO established on 11 March 2020 with only 5 directors. This is new institution, guys, so I don't have many staffs in the beginning. And then PMO controls the budget. The amount of the budget, 1.3 billion per year. You can imagine the massive size of the program. And then on the context, lockdown occurred on 10 April 2020. The programs released one day after that. It's crazy, right? And you can see PMO established on 11 March PMO established on 17th of March. The program released on 11 April. So less than a month, we already recruit the first batch of Prakerja. How do we do that? MVP. Don't wait for the whole product, but MVP release, and then we keep improving and building the product. Okay. And then 100% online trainings, guys, because this is a pandemic. And then the design of the program, training first, money later. The amount of training allowance is 1 million. Money incentive is 2.4 million rupiah. So more on the cash incentive rather than on the competency. And then we make on demand and all aspect. Whether you want to apply, not apply, how many trainings that you want to take, up to you. Webinar or full on demand video, up to you. Whether you want to use BCA or you use OVO, up to you, etc., etc. Again, all on demand in all aspects. Next slide. So on the innovation, problem solution fit, we actually try to get a lot of user stories by doing all the research and also FGDs, hundreds of FGDs done in order to set the user experience. So you can see the UI UX of Prakerja by visiting our website. So our website, please click Prakerja Go ID, the link over there. Yes. Okay. So this is the front website of Prakerja. If you see from the design, please scroll down slowly. If you see the design, guys, the color, the language, the models, the font, the position of each of the elements or features, the buttons, the shape of the buttons. Okay, scroll down, keep scroll down. And then all the information is provided. Down, 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 down. Yeah, down, FAQ, and then the articles or blogs, down. Okay, and then, you know, all the information there. Please click the butuh bantuan on the right. Yeah, yes. So, and then you can see all the menu of contact center there. If you click, for example, live chat, form pengaduan or hubungi kami, then voila. So this is the UI UX, guys. The UI UX inspired by the user stories. We have to have empathy to our users. What are the pain points of the users? And you try to basically accommodate that, understand that, and reflect those and solve the problems in the product. And our product, our front office is actually the website. That's why we create the website, not really like in the government website, right? Very soft. The language is informal, because we try to engage with our users. We are not trying to be formal and disengage and being cold with our users. I want our users feel warmed and understood. And that's why we try to do all of this in our website. And then please go back to the slides. Okay, guys. So, and the registration is 24/7, guys. And we make the system from GoFood like to Go Training, something like that. And we also engage with banks and also e-money. We are actually in the frontliner of the G2P 3.0, government to person 3.0 payment. This is like the most advanced government to person payment system, which actually gives choices to the people using, digital verification of the identity of the people. And also we use the regular payment system. So those are basically the elements of G2P 3.0. So we are the first one and the only one in Indonesia. There is no other government to-person program that basically have such feature. And we also use cloud computing technology. We are the first one using cloud computing technology. Because what? Because of it, it is efficient and it is scalability, etc., etc. So on the space of innovation, we have to do all the monitoring, funnel analysis, cohort analysis, any kind of analysis, guys. So this is like a very typical in a startup business. And we do large scale PMO surveys to the participants. And how many participants answer the surveys? 11 millions. You can imagine how big is our database. Tera giga back there. And then we do hypothesis testing and solution. Like, for example, why do people why some people do not complete the trainings? Is that because they do not have data package, or whether they have problems with the training institutions, whether they miss the webinar schedule? So a lot of potential answers. What happened here is that we blast short question, just one question, to those who do not complete the trainings, and then we ask them, hey guys, we know that you haven't completed your first training and we want to help you. Please answer these questions. Why you haven't finished your training? A, I do not have data package. Second, I have no clue how to finish it. Third, I missed the webinar schedule. Fourth, So we have all the list, and then we just wait for the response. After like 5,000, 2,000 response, okay, that's already law of large numbers, and then we take the conclusion, okay, that's the majority of the problem. Solve the problems. So that's basically the approach, guys. That keep, we keep doing that in any aspects. Hypothesis testings, and then give solution. And then we do, we engage with some independent surveyors to do some surveys, rapid assessment, and impact evaluation studies. We also invest in customer relation management because we have huge customers. So the number of applicants in Prakerja is actually, 80 emails verified, but the number of participants is more than 40,000 adults. You can imagine how big the stakeholders there. And we also invest in marketing and communication. Our style of marketing and communication is also different. You can check our Instagram, for example. Next slide. And this is the ecosystem of Prakerja, ecosystem of partnership, PPP. It is not the ecosystem of, just government only. No. So we engage with 4 job platforms such that all the, vacancies can be tailored, can be pulled to the individual dashboard or personal dashboard, such that if you already completed, for example, Adobe Photoshop trainings, Adobe 3D Blender, or audio mixing, and all of other stuff, then any job vacancies that require workers to have those skills will pop in your dashboard. So no need to spend time to basically type anything. It's already in your dashboard. If you want to register, you just click, and then you will be directed to the platforms of those job platform partner. The second group is the marketplace. We have 6 companies: Tokopedia, Bukalapak, Karirmu, Pintar, Pijar, and also from the government itself, from Kemnaker. And then we also have hundreds of training providers providing thousands of trainings. There are so many logos out there. Yeah, we cannot fit into the slide. And then we also have 2 banks and also 4 e-money as the choice of the account of the incentive. And we have all the API integration with different, with those players. So API is everywhere. API is, that there's what is that? Programming interface, right? So we have also negative list of, for example, if you are registered or listed as a student, then active student, then you cannot participate in Prakerja yet. After you graduate, then you can participate in Prakerja. So there are some negative lists in there. That's because of the regulation say so. Okay, next slide. Okay, so cloud technology, you can see that, okay, for speed, scale, inclusivity, efficiency, effectiveness, transparency, and accountability, we employ cloud technology. We do not use on-premise server because it's expensive, lack of scalability, etc., etc. So it's very cheap, guys. So from Aceh to Papua, you know that the number of participants in this number is actually on December 15, 2021. So it keeps growing, guys. So you can imagine there are 85,000 of participants from Papua in Prakerja. Next slide. So how about the technology behind Prakerja? So we have web and application programs, database programs, infrastructure programs, data engineering programs. So my suggestion to you, don't stop learning and be satisfied with data or e-views or SPSS. Those are not enough. In the current job, it is required that you understand SQL, the database over there. It is important A+ if you understand Python. I'm telling you, you have to understand as well Visio in order to make the flowchart of logic. Yes, no, yes, no. If yes, then go to where. If not, then go to where. So that is good. And then it is important to understand like 1 or 2 platforms of project management. It is important, guys, because you're young, yeah, and maybe many of you wants to participate in any companies, and those companies already adopting, digital technology and also startup mindset. So it is very important for you to equip step by step, improve your skills, complete your skills, such that once you graduate, you have not only your degree but also certificates that indicate that you know SQL, Python, etc., etc. So it's very important. Prakerja also provide those trainings, by the way. Okay, next slide. So when I say about contact center, it is very important, guys, because we use end-to-end digital approach. Digital literacy require literacy. All the instructions are there, but unfortunately Indonesians, majority of them do not want to read, or they do not have good literacy. We know all the statistics, PISA, for example, showing that, and also one study that show that Indonesia literacy is very low. People do not like to read. So there is a structural problem. So what happened here is that we provide contact center. And how big is the contact center, guys? Per month in 2021, the average number of incoming calls, 850,000. Can you imagine? So if you see this size, this magnitude, it is impossible that you have your own team or, for example, some bureaucratic arms to do the job. That's why our contact center open, for example, for the hotline, it is open from Monday to Monday from 8 to 8 every day. Because some people actually prefer or have time to call during the weekend or at night. That's why we have to be, more empathetic to our users. And what about the form of complaints? 2 million average number of complaints recorded per month. When we say complaints here, like for example, why I do not receive my certificates yet? Well, actually, on the dashboard, it already mentioned that certificates will be received no more than 7 days. But it is still 3 days, they already filled the complaint. That's what happened in the market. So again, having a lot of complaints and questions does not mean you are bad. Sometimes people do not read well the instruction. For example, why I haven't received incentives? And then when we check, your OVO is actually over limit, so just wait for next month until it will be active again, and then we are able to transfer your incentive. But they keep sending all the complaints to our channels, and sometimes they say bad things in our Instagram. So that's happened, guys. So again, no need to be like furious about that. you know, you understand your users, you know about your program, you know how your team work, how reliable they are, and then just be, you know, a bit distance with, you know, the noise in the Instagrams and also all the channels here. Okay, next slide. So this is what happened with Prakerja. Prakerja does not guarantee for jobs, but we help people find their jobs. That's why we integrate with job portals. For example, if you complete SEO trainings, then any jobs that require SEO is basically in there. But you can actually type the type of job that you are searching, and then you can read the description of the vacancies and the requirement, the salary, what company, where is the location, etc., etc. And then on the right, the most right graph, that's basically the recruitment trend from 3 job portals: career.com, Jobs ID, and also Jobstreet. You can see that, aha, so this month, the largest vacancies actually coming from accounting and what is it? Oh, that's financial account, a financial report. So staff that basically accounting staff is the largest. And then number 2, others. Okay, we need to see in more details. And then the third one is technician or software programmer. And then the fourth one is sales executive, management, marketing executive, blah, blah, blah. So overall, you can sum up that, okay, I learned from the statistic that the highest demand is actually still coming on marketing and sales. The second one on the office administration. And the third one, I think perkantoran, administrasi umum is like HR, something like that. Yeah, so those are top 3. The fourth one sometimes, yeah, IT. So do not get tricked. Oh yeah, thank you. So do not get tricked easily that, oh, we have to provide trainings that suitable to industry, meaning that manufacturing industry, like for example, clothing or apparels, no, or chemicals, or we have to focus on the digital talents development. You have to read the demand, read the statistics, not based on some hypothesis. Okay, so that's basically how Prakerja provide trainings by looking at the trend of the recruitment. Next. So this is actually the impact evaluations, guys. So all done by reputable institutions, and none is actually funded by PMO. They are funded by strong institutions, like for example, Japanese government, Minister of Finance, Australian government, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, USAID, and you can find all the impact here that compare between the recipient and non-recipient of Prakerja. Last one. So the last research made by the World Bank and also TNP2K with 1,000 respondents, supported by G2PX, Melinda and Gates Foundation, and also Tanoto Foundation. So the finding is actually telling us that most people satisfied with trainings, most people satisfied with the payment channels in Prakerja. If you want to learn more about the research finding on Kartu Prakerja, you can visit our website, www.prakerja.id/publication. So I stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Denni. It's very inspiring and insightful as always. Thank you so much for your time. We probably can have another 5 minutes for question and answer if you still have questions, guys. Jilan, go on.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. And thank you, Denni, for the fantastic presentation. I just wanted to ask like 2 questions related to each other. So as mentioned before, training from Kartu Prakerja include, various sort of skills like web design, data analysis, programming, etc. These skills are transferable no matter where in the world you may live. My question is, could those using Kartu Prakerja use the services to train themselves to work abroad? And a follow-up question is, will Kartu Prakerja partner up with companies in neighboring countries to link those looking for jobs with vacancies? Thank you.
The answer is for work abroad, of course, it depends on each individual. Because, well, if you actually search for jobs, vacancies abroad, for example, from LinkedIn or other, Glassdoors and others, as a software developer or data science staff, then of course, you can apply to there. Because I think firms is not only value on the certificates, but they want to, during the recruitment, long processes there. Sometimes you have to do certain, case and then show your skills. So it is certificates is only as an instrument of signaling. It is not 100% a guarantee of the skills itself. So that's why if, for example, some participants wants to apply for jobs abroad, you can do that for sure, but it is all your choice. The second thing is that when are we going to basically have a collaboration with job portals that have international recruitment? Well, actually JobStreet is already, have international recruitment in there. But again, if we see the pyramid of the society, we actually serve maybe in the medium to a bit like, lower class of society, such that, well, for me, I'm thinking that maybe they tap the job opportunities in Indonesia first until they get trained. Maybe they already build their portfolios and reputation to be able to basically entering the international job or international market that is typically in general more competitive.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Budeni. Are you okay to take two more questions?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So two more questions from Nicholas and then John. Go on, Nicholas.
Okay. Hi. I want to ask because the platform of Prakerja is actually already very mature, because like I see it's like the processes and all the other systems, they're already all integrated. But what I'm a bit curious here is that how do you because this is like offering for the public, right? This is because for training and stuff. But what marketing kind of like because you mentioned I think incentives and like Instagram like that. What are the techniques you use to make people interested in taking these training programs for Kartu Prakerja?
Okay, so of course, because we have talents from marketing agencies in our team, so I follow the strategy that they suggest. The first one, make sure that you build your brand. Right now, it is so unfortunate because we serve double or dual missions, competence and also cash transfer. What happened is that our brand is slightly tilted toward, social assistance. We put more weights on the social assistance. How are we going to still, educate the market to understand that, well, that's not the only mission of Prakerja. So what happened here is that our social media talk so much about, for example, the testimonies of the participants that, they're basically able to improve their lives, taking these skills and those skills, etc. So we basically give the stories, hundreds of testimonies there, such that people will relate to themselves and inspired. The second thing, of course, because of there is a money incentive, maybe the marketing effort is not that significant because people love to accept some money. But again, it is bad for the, the program in a way, because we want to make sure that the intrinsic motivation is also, they consider on the competency. So what happened here is that, of course, we try to educate the market by giving the information of certain product that attract them. And then we say that, oh, you want to be like them, or do you want to be able to produce product like that? Hey, in Prakerja, there are trainings of this and that you can just click, and then, you can basically access the program, something like that. So you just find materials that is related to them, and relevant to them. If people like, for example, to design logos, then we show some stories about how cool the logos. And then if you want to know how to learn to make logos, then okay, Prakerja have these trainings that you can basically select from, something like that. So again, constant education to the market. You use any channels, television, online, offline, television, radios, newspapers, interviews the ministers, the president, myself, my team, etc., etc. Because the issue is not, building the brand of Prakerja for our users, but also for the talents, because we are in the battle of recruiting good talents. Prakerja, working with the government is scary and not attractive for the young, honestly. So we have to, present ourselves, present our brand in a suitable way, such that it is valuable to retain the talents, to recruit the good talents to work with PMO. But the second thing is that to basically give a good products, educating the products for our users. Yeah, so again, it is not easy. We are still learning on this, but honestly, this year we are going to invest more in digital marketing. But for people in Eastern Islands, we will do in a more traditional way, because again, digital infrastructure in Eastern Islands not available or not sophisticated. So we will do all the traditional by basically providing posters or big billboard in strategic places in Papua, in North Maluku, Maluku. So those are our effort that try to engage with our participants. Mm-hmm.
Right, thank you. Our last question from John Muriango. Go on.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Okay, I've got an observation that I've seen over the past decade or so. Over the years, most companies have been shifting the blame of lack of skills on lack of skills on employees, and then they've been claiming that maybe the reason why most people have got few skills, is because maybe educational institutions, these are either universities or tertiary or technical institutions, they are not preparing the youth for the job market. Now, but however, on the part of institutions, they've already trained the youth, and also the youth, and then have taken extra initiative and have trained themselves in order to have more relevant skills. Now, but however, we are aware that the ultimate training for specific skills which a company requires within its own organization, it has to be impacted, it has to be trained by the company itself. Therefore, my question is, why is it that organizations are shifting away from training the employees whom they need, instead of trying to blame other sectors or other organizations, which ideally should not be blamed for lack of relevance of specific skills which a particular organization requires? Because I can see this in different countries. I've seen it here in India. I've seen it back in my home country, Kenya. And also from my readings, I've seen the same situation happening in other countries. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Your question is very interesting. So,
Thank you, John. Your question is very interesting.
As I mentioned before, that the World Bank study showed that, firms invest too little to the research and development, including skill development for their workers. The second thing is that firms tend to recruit workers who already have experience. That's why youth unemployment is very high in Indonesia, and maybe in other developing countries are the same. And firms tend to blame education institutions that they cannot keep up with the skills required by the firms. Why? The firms do not want to invest more in their workers if they think that, okay, rather than blaming others, invest more in the workers. The issue here is, number one, on the contract. So labor contract in Indonesia now is shifting more toward annual short-term contract rather than long-term contract. Why? Because firms, I think there is a tendency for the firms to be, more careful in hiring labor for a long-term contract. Because for long-term contract, you have to submit with all the labor regulations that is very rigid, and of course, compliance is expensive. They try to be economical. So they hire workers based on short-term job contract. With that kind of contract, you can imagine the incentive is that I will not invest in trainings. Because if I invest in trainings, I'm afraid this worker will move to other firms. So it is like chicken and egg situation. But we know that the tendency of labor regulation is giving more weights on the protection of the labor, that for firms' point of view, it is expensive to have long-term contract with the workers. Long-term contract is more attractive for the firms, or rational for the firms to invest in their trainings. But again, firms facing, or calculating the cost and benefit of trainings, they do not want to spend more money on this. They rather to, basically require the workers or require the university to, equip the workers with trainings, which, that's why the market fails, like I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation. So how to somewhat break the chain, the vicious cycle there? This is my hypothesis. Well, and this hypothesis will be tested soon in the last quarter this year. So guys, Prakerja in the very beginning, again, 100% online. The majority of training providers are education technology. Some universities. But you can see that those training providers, there are many, only 30% of them is actually being selected or pass the requirement or the assessment. But guys, we understand that there is some weaknesses in online trainings. Online trainings have benefits in terms of scale, flexibility, but online, especially for people who live in, remote islands, because I met people in Talaut Islands or in Aceh, in Bengkulu, in Nias, in Sumba, in Papua, Biak, Supiori. I met them in North Kalimantan, for example. They thankful because Prakerja use online trainings, because for them it is impossible to leave their villages, spend some money and time, maybe 2 weeks, 1 week, to big city and then get trained. It is impossible for them because they have to raise their kids, they have to work, they have to attend their cattle or their farm. So it is impossible for them to go to the big cities. So they study online at home. That's why digital infrastructure must be strong in Indonesia. And we know that it is not one day work or one night work. So we keep improving and penetrating to villages. But what is important here is that we know that there is a weakness of online training, but there is a plus in terms of scale. But how to make sure that the training is relevant for the job market or relevant to the industry? So this year, we do some pitching with big corporations, top of mind companies in the industry, in the sector, to open their door for Prakerja participants. So those companies, typically they have trainings, but for their own employees, in-house training. Of course, I understand that they might not be, interested in, because the profitability is not coming from trainings, but from the product that they sell. But it is important for them to open the doors for society. And then the way I sell this product or this program to them, such that they want to participate in Prakerja, is that I say, number one, you need corporate social responsibility. Your brand is already so strong. Joining to Prakerja will make your brand even stronger because you care about the human capital development in Indonesia. The third one, if you train them and you find the best graduate in that training, you can hire them. So this is access for pool of talents. The fourth one, of course, you can basically not only build the reputation of the company and sourcing for the good employees, but also to make the training that is usually cost center for a company becoming like not really, profit center, but, non-loss center or something like that. Because again, training is costly. So if they can accept Prakerja participants and we pay for that training, so they can make, the training is actually economical. It doesn't hurt their book, their basically profitability. So that's how we sell. And well, you just simply wait. Some big brands will participate as a training provider in Prakerja in the last quarter this year. Yeah, we cross our fingers for that. Yeah, so big brands, really, really big brands in finance, in poultry, in agriculture, in insurance, construction, fishery. We all have big brands that is participating together with training providers, regular training providers in education technology. So that's basically what Prakerja can solve as a, to basically cut the vicious circle, such that, the trainings that is provided by Prakerja is really matched with what industry needs.
Right. Thank you very much, Bu Denni. I'm sure that there are still many questions, and because this topic is really, really interesting, but unfortunately we have run out of time. So thank you so much once again for your time, Bu Denni, and we hope every successful Prakerja program. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bu Denni, for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.